Man, what's up, YouTube? This video right here has been long in the making. Like, I've been meaning to make this video a while ago. Matter of fact, I'm a senior in college right now, so this is my last year. I'm about to graduate. I've been really meaning to make this video since I've been a sophomore, but I'm telling you right now, college can be hectic, especially when you're in a STEM major like I am. And so, I'm getting into it now. It's better late than never. So here we go. So you're over 30 years old, or you're close to 30 years old, or maybe even older, and you're thinking about going back to school. Well, I'm gonna give you 5 things that you need to know, 5 things that you need to think about if you're in this predicament where you're middle age and you're thinking about going back to school. First thing I want to say before I even get into it, though, is congratulations on even thinking about going back to school. I encourage everybody to go to school and get an education, especially if you don't already have one. In some cases, it will make sense for someone to go back to school and get another field or trade, but especially if you don't have an education, get one, because it's going to make a major difference in your life. But all right, with that, I'm going to get into the 5 things you need to know, 5 things you need to think about if you're middle aged and thinking about going back to school. So the first one is pick a major. I know it sounds simple, but it's very, very important, because there's a lot of majors that's in college right now that you can go for that I consider fluff majors. The 2 things that most people think about when they think about making money or having a career is, 1 is going to be the money, obviously, and 2 is going to be how happy they're going to be doing it. Those are 2 very important things. So you might have a passion to do something that doesn't pay very much, and that's fine if you do, but you want to at least make a list of 3 things that you wouldn't mind doing. And even though 1 might be at the top of that list, if number 2 pays better, but and you're still going to be happy doing it, it's worth thinking about doing that. Picking a major is very important, because a lot of people go to college, they get into some of these majors, and then they come out with debt, and they don't even make enough money to pay back the debt, so they mess up their lives by doing it. And in that instance, school is not that good of an idea if you're going to do something like that. So I would definitely say picking a major is the most important thing. Make sure you pick a major that you're going to be happy with, but it's also going to pay you some money. All right, so number 2 is support system. Support system is very important, because a lot of dynamics can change while you're in school. So especially if you're a single mother, you got kids, or even a single father, you have kids, having a support system is going to make it a lot easier for you to get through school, with all the range of emotions that you're going to go through with the grades and trying to get through classes and whatnot. You're going to need that support system to help, even like if you're just stressed out after midterms or finals, and just having a support system of friends to just decompress with and relieve some of that stress is going to be very important to keep a stable mind, because I've seen a lot of people since I've been in school that they started and they didn't finish. And a lot of the reason why they don't finish is because they don't have a proper support system, and they get frustrated, they get stressed, and then they give up. All right, so number 3 is going to be debt to income ratio. Now, this is going to be important as well, because a lot of people, not everybody, this isn't going to pertain to everybody, but a lot of people, they're going to have jobs that they can't do when they go to school. For me, for instance, I was a truck driver, and I made really good money as a truck driver, but obviously I can't do truck driving and going to school. Maybe an online college would work, but what I'm trying to go to school for, you can't do it online, and even then it's still going to be, I think, too difficult to try and manage that. So if you have one of those jobs that you're not going to be able to do it while you attend school, or at least you won't be able to do it till its full extent. What I mean by that is, you might have a job where right now you work full time, but in order to go to school and still work that job, you might have to drop down to part-time. Some people have jobs, like my instance, that you can't even do it no way, no how when you go to school. So you're going to need to think about that. In my case, I had to get a new job, which I really wanted to do anyway, because like I said, I was in the trucking industry, and I'm trying to get into the medical field now. I'm trying to go to PA school, physician assistant school. So I wanted to get a job in the medical field. Matter of fact, I had to, because you need to have patient care experience. So that was something already I was thinking about. But even if you're not in that predicament, you're not in that situation, you still want to think about, can you still work this job, or do you need to get another job? Because your debt to income ratio is going to be important, because say for instance you have a mortgage or you have an apartment right now, are you going to be able to afford that mortgage or that apartment that you live in right now if you go down to part-time, or if you have to switch jobs? For example, me, I had a really nice, you see, I'm in UNCC Charlotte, representing Charlotte and representing the 49ers. So, I had a really nice apartment uptown Charlotte. One bedroom was $1,400 a month. That's a decent, pretty good apartment here in Charlotte. You can get for about that price range. But on the low end, you can get one bedroom for about $600, $700, I would say. But that's going to be the very low end. That's basically going to be, in the bad areas for $600, $700 a month. But in mid range, right at $1,000, right at $1,000. But I couldn't maintain living in that nice uptown Charlotte apartment with the money that I was going to make switching my career field and switching my job. If I did, I would be really stressed. It's never smart to be at the top of your budget in any time in life, but especially when you're in school, because like I said, there's so many changing dynamics and things that can change. So, you want to really manage and think about your debt to income ratio. For my example, I had to leave that apartment. Luckily, I was thinking about going to school right when the lease was almost ending, so I didn't have to break my lease or anything. But I had to leave that apartment, and now I live in student housing, which is going to obviously be a lot less expensive, and it's going to be a really good deal because more than likely it's going to be close to campus, so it's easy commuting. In my situation, I have a shuttle that takes us to campus, so I don't even have to drive if I don't want to, and that saves money as well because my campus, and I think every campus, charges for parking. So debt to ratio it's a lot to think about in that avenue, but that's the big thing that I want to point out. Next is living arrangements. Now, living arrangements I just touched on. You might have to leave your apartment that you're living in, or even if you're living with family, it might be still a smart idea or a better idea to move to student housing, because like I said, you want to decrease your stress level. Now, living with family, sometimes when you don't have your own space, you don't have your own place, it can be stressful. Obviously, if you're living there for free, it's going to be an added expense to move into student housing. But student housing is relatively cheap, and it's relatively cheap. If you can live anywhere else that costs money, you can live in student housing because it's going to be cheaper than anywhere else that you can think of, aside from living for free with family, of course. But student housing is going to be a really good deal and a really good bet if you're thinking about going back to school and you have to decrease your hours at work or get a different job that's not going to pay as much. Now, like I said, some people will actually be able to keep their same job. Like I have a friend that he's in banking, and he actually was able to keep his same job while he went to school because he just worked in the afternoons, and he was able to keep that job and went to school early mornings. And what he did was he only did about 2 classes a day, but he went all week long. So that way he would be done with his classes by the time he went into work. That doesn't work for everybody. It depends on the classes and what times they're going to be offered and everything else. More than likely, you're going to have to change something. It's going to be far and few between that you don't have to change anything, and you can just go to school, keep your same job, and everything works the same way it's been working. That's going to be the few, I think. Most people are going to have to either change their hours, change their job, or something like that, or change their living accommodations. Something's going to have to change usually to make it all work perfectly, make it all flow smoothly. And so the last thing, which is the most important thing, is prior existing debt. That is a big one, especially, say for instance, you're in debt before you even go to school, which it could be a motivation to go to school, is to try to make more money. Obviously, if you're facing debt and you realize that you're not making as much money as you should. But one thing I will say is try to take care of that debt before you even go to school. It's very important, and the reason why I say that is because when you go to school and you have to cut back your hours, or you have to get a different job that doesn't pay as much as you were making prior to school, it's going to be extremely hard to get caught up on that debt if you're trying to pay it back, which everybody should be trying to pay it back. It's going to be extremely hard to get caught up because you're making less money. If you weren't able to handle it before making more money, obviously making less money, you're not going to be able to take care of that debt. So that's very important. I would say do all you can to take care of it prior to coming to school. That was one mistake that I made. I had debt. Now, at the time, the debt wasn't a big deal because I was truck driving and making a lot of money. So the debt at that time wasn't, it wasn't anything that I couldn't handle. See, I had to stop truck driving in order to go to school. What I should have done was took care of all of that debt before I started school, but I was so excited, so gung-ho about joining and starting school that I just applied right for the next semester and started right away. And so I didn't allow myself time to clear that debt before starting school. Obviously, with changing jobs and making less money. While you're making the money, before you make these changes, try to clear that debt if you can, because it's going to be next to impossible to catch up on it. And what's going to happen is it's either going to, one, cost you more money, because obviously when you don't pay a high amount on those debts owed, the interest kicks in and it ends up becoming a greater number, or it's going to affect your credit greatly, which is going to be bad, because when you finish school, say you finish school, you go to the 4-year college, 2-year college, whatever you're going to do, and you finish school. Now, if something impacts your credit negatively, it's not going to be right away. It's not going to be like, for example, my situation, I started school that next semester. I started, not making payments or making lesser than payments than I should have. It didn't really go on my credit until about a year. So after that point, it still takes 7 years to drop off your credit. So if it's starting a year into your college, if you're in a 1-year or 4-year college, you only have a year or possibly 3 years until you finish. So you're going to still have between 6 and 4 years left for that negative items to come off of your credit. The problem with that is when you finish school, a lot of these employers are now checking your credit to see if you're going to be eligible for a job. That's weighing in the factor if they're going to hire you or not. So you could potentially go to school, get the degree, and then can't get a job because your credit is messed up. Another thing is, once you finish school, the obvious thing you're going to want to do is regain your independence. Get a nicer place, get a nice car, try to live that life and live your life. And you're not going to be able to do that with bad credit. So that's why I said prior existing debt, taking care of that is probably the most important thing in my opinion. Hope this video didn't go too long. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Definitely give me a like and a subscribe. After this video, my next video is probably going to give a tour of the college arrangements that I'm living in, to give you an example of what it's like living in student housing, especially if you're like middle-aged. Like I said, it's been a long time since you either did it or even thought about doing it. Let you know what it's looking like around this time. Obviously, strange times right now with COVID. I hope everybody's being safe out there. But yeah, that's going to probably be the next video. Until next time.